they're trying, again, right off the bat. We talk about in the past, the show, just it's 10 minutes before anything gets said or anything gets done. It just goes so slow, and it's 3 hours. So they go all the way in the other direction. As soon as the show comes up, no open, whatever, they're in the ring with Bobby Lashley calling out Brock Lesnar, get your ass out here, why I oughta. And they play Brock's music. Out he comes in street clothes. Now, again, you're going to hear this as a recurring theme in a few of these segments in this program. They're trying. So I'm not going to bring up that. Has it ever been just sanctioned? Or should it ever be sanctioned that a guy can just call another guy? You just go out, take over the show, call another guy out. The guy comes out, they fight. There's no organization here. There's no administration. There's nobody running the program. The inmates just call out and make their own shit. Is this something that apparently the WWE audience just accepts now after they've seen it for so long, and they're not going to try to get back to logic or legitimacy, even when they're trying to rehab these bad gimmicks? Am I looking for too much detail here?
You're looking for detail that should be there. I think it's a lot to ask that they'll all of a sudden start doing things like that the right way, but who knows? Over time, maybe. But certainly right now, while things are not federated in the former federation, you see what happens.
So here comes Brock out, and Bobby rolls out, and they lock up in the aisleway there, and they have a big fight, and Lashley spears Brock through the barricade, and again, boy, that was impressive. And it's Brock Lesnar being speared all the way through a barricade by a fucking beast the size of Bobby Lashley that had Brock up off the ground. If I didn't see that same thing done every goddamn week on television, that would be the greatest thing I ever saw, because these two are the ones that need to be doing it. But now it's like, and it's always in the same place, funnily enough. I don't know how that coincidence happens, but it was great. Again, they're trying. But a lot of this stuff is what I'm saying. How many times have I said in the past, when you really need something, when interest is down, business is down, nobody's over, it's kind of lackluster, you got to do things to shock people and to get, oh, wow, did you see that? But the problem is, if you do it all the time and with the wrong people or middle card people or just people at random, then it's not the same thing when you see these two goddamn big top stars doing it. You're like, oh, yeah, they did that last week. Okay, but through the barricade, and then, again, they're trying, but instantly, 30 people arrive. Adam Pearce, security, guys out of the locker room, various producers and whatever. Okay, I'm always complaining that nobody comes out try to break this shit up. But then they do a deal where a guy stands in the ring all by himself and blatantly calls another guy out to fight. The other guy gets music played for him and comes out there, and they get in a fight, and there's nobody on the scene whatsoever until they go through the barricade. And then 30 of them are there at the same time. And then while they're trying to pull them apart, Lashley spears Brock over the desk and gives him a spine buster through the desk, which again looked great. Two big guys, a great fight, and chaos with all the people out there. They're trying. And he left Brock selling, which he almost had to do because of the fact that Brock pretty much punked him out the other day. So the action was great. The fact that they did it right off the bat on the show was great. They're being penalized by the fact that all this shit's been overdone to the point where they can't really physically do anything that people haven't seen anymore. So they just try to do it the same thing better or with bigger stars. And I'd work on dialing back the security to like 10 or 12 guys that come out in dribbles and drabs like they just realized what was going on, and maybe tighten up the goddamn presentation by having Lashley storm out and take over and the announcers talk about, oh my God, he can't do this, instead of, well, he said this, what he's going to do. So like it's something that's happening all at once and getting away from everybody, so they take a minute to react, and that's when everybody gets their damage done. But again, I'm being too, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more effective to have like 12 people run out all at once like they're standing in the back singing doo-wop or something, waiting for things to happen. That's more realistic.
Well, I've tried to have that many guys show up in the same place at the same time and had meetings about it and still couldn't. And they would never get there. And suddenly they've got them. It was like they shot them they slid down a fireman's pole like a goddamn fire department.
They certainly are trying to establish a tone. On SmackDown, they began with that whole parking lot car accident thing with McIntyre and Cross, and now they begin hot with this. They're trying to really heat things up to get people, I guess, to pay attention to the new management of the company.
Well, yes, and I don't blame them, and they should. And, it's Triple H is hearkening back to the Attitude Era where you never knew where something was going to happen or not, whether somebody's going to get in a fight or get in a car wreck or whatever. But the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, God, if only somebody had predicted this. The reason why it got over then is because people had never seen shit like that. Now they've been seeing it for 20 years. And they've been seeing it with talent that isn't as good as the talent they first saw it done with 20 years ago. So it has less impact. It will juice up the show, and it'll make it a little easier to watch for the people already there. But they've jaded a lot of these people. But like me, to the point where I can't. Every time I see more shit like the same shit we see every week, I roll my eyes.
Do you think that's the toughest thing mentally for a booker? To recognize when to dial it back or to dial it back?
Well, this is not even about a booker or one. Yes, occasionally in the territories, it was Dusty did it where, you need to take a breath here. And that could happen, but who booked for 25 years? Nobody. They hit on the idea of doing every goddamn thing in the Attitude Era that had ever been done before and doing it all again, plus coming up with new shit and doing that too, with the best talent, best group of talent that had ever been assembled in both companies. And then as that talent matriculated to movies and old age, they've been doing the same kind of shit and coming up with even more special effects ridden shit to where we've seen people burned alive and run over with 18-wheelers and, buried alive and flung off roofs into rivers. See, they've killed every angle. And it's not even if people are going to believe that what used to draw money about an angle was the fact that the fans thought that someone had been wronged, injured, or screwed around. Well, they know that's not the case anymore because this is all a scripted, dramatic fucking presentation with elements of comedy. So now it basically has to be, well, was this angle visually impressive enough that it might get people to want to see the match because they don't believe anybody's really hurt or offended? And how much more visually impressive can you get than fucking burning a fucking motherfucker alive? So what else are they going to do to anybody? They're going to spear them through the barricade twice a fucking show. That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been saying for 20 fucking years. That sooner or later we would get to this point. What else are you going to do to a motherfucker's human body to be visually impressive when they know that it's all bullshit and nobody was really harmed, hurt, screwed, cheated, robbed, or embarrassed? Except when they really do get hurt trying to make people believe something they don't believe anyway. Let's go ahead.
One last question on this. Do you think this justifies the way Lashley got beat down last week?
I don't know if it justifies it. It explains it because in the mind of the people who want to do what they did last week, well, then next week, Lashley's going to come out and leave him laying. So that justifies it in their mind. And I still think that Lashley has been unfortunately diminished by not being in the hurt business with MVP to talk so that they didn't leave Bobby twisting, trying to be an orator, a raconteur. That's not his fucking line of work. I think it was great when they had a group of guys so Lashley could be the star and Cedric and Shelton could be the Usos.
Yeah, breaking up the hurt business has not worked out for anyone who is in the hurt business.
No, it's bad for business. But so I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know, but whether I would have flip-flopped these, because everybody expects, because he's the biggest star in the business, Brock Lesnar to beat up Bobby Lashley, but maybe people wouldn't have expected Bobby Lashley to beat up Brock Lesnar. So maybe Brock's shocking return, the shocking thing about it was he'd come out all smiles like we last saw him, and Lashley'd fucking sodomize him with a muffler off a fucking 56 Chevy. And then Brock comes back and gets even. Now he's still a babyface. You got Lashley as a fucking heel where he ought to be. Instead, now they love Brock, and he was the babyface, but now he's come back and switched heel, apparently, by just suckering and attacking Bobby Lashley for whatever fucking reason. Except the people cheered him because they still like him. And meanwhile, poor Bobby is a god. He looks like a Greek god, and he's stuck trying to act like an ice cream man. I don't fucking know. Can we move on?
Yeah, was that Raw? I guess there's more. How much more Raw is there?
About 2 hours and 55 minutes of Raw is still left to go.